Hi everyone. Today is our first ever Education on Air conference. Today we have educators from all over holding 46 different Hangouts on air with discussions on a number of different topics throughout education technology. So first we'd like to extend a big thank you to all the presenters. They were given early access to Hangouts on Air, which allows you to stream a Hangout live through Google+. So we have a number of users who weren't able to join the Hangout directly who will be able to view it through a live stream on our presenters page. Today we have Bjorn Behrendt, and he is the host of the Google Weekly podcast, which is part of the edlisten.com network. He is also the IT coordinator and integration specialist for Mount St. Joseph Academy in Vermont. Today, Bjorn is going to be focusing on professional development and different strategies, both within the classroom and how to bring that online. So with no further ado, I give you Bjorn.
Thank you very much, Devin. Yes, I got the big microphone. I do have a podcast that I try and do, and that's part of my new approach to, or my different approach to professional development. And basically what I started out with is, I think the normal professional development model of teachers going to workshops and going to conferences, getting absorbed with an abundance of information. I mean, we're doing this now. And then going back to this classroom and not really being able to do anything with it. So I've kind of tried to find different ways of providing professional development and different ways of doing training that you, the teachers, can then also have time to implement and time to create and play with this. So I'm going to share my screen here. I have a presentation. Yep, that's the one I want. There you go. And you can see all my information there, whatever else. So there's three things when I think about professional development and for what I think it really needs to succeed. And that's called exposure, time, and time. So it's time to play and then time to actually integrate. And then I have another teacher who is big on reflection, so she pointed out that you really need to look again and share it, what you get. And I think the current professional development is really focused on exposure. There's a lot of ways to get information out to you, and like I said, conferences, workshops, anything else out there, even this conference is really about exposure. But what happens is time to implement and time to play, kind of losing my place here, kind of get thrown under the way, and you can't ever take all the stuff you've learned about and really bring it to the classroom. And so that's why I started looking at different ways of looking at professional development differently. So exposure, what's out there? Obviously conferences, your peers, integration specialists, YouTube. I can't express enough how often I use YouTube as a way to learn about different products, learn about different reviews, and learn about different ways of approaching the classrooms, all the way from universal design, differentiated instruction, formative assessment, right into different applications. If you want to do something more with Google Docs, you want to do something else with another application out there. And another one that's really very popular is personal learning networks, which I want to get into a little bit more later in the presentation. But what I find is that teachers usually can find ways to get exposed to these things. What happens, though, is they don't ever get given the time to play and time to integrate. So why I call this PD now is I want to take that exposure piece of it and try to externalize it. So try and make it more of on your own time. So whether it be video, whether it be a podcast, an online conference, all those types of professional development, and then take the time that you normally would inside school, so your in-service time, your after-school workshops, and really turn that into physical time to work. So it would be time to take all those things that you've been exposed to and actually play with them, which is a very important thing. You need to learn features. You need to learn different ways that these programs can interact and how they can interact. Often there's many different programs out there, and you want to find out which one is actually the right for your class, or maybe you want to use multiple of them. My best example of this is concept mapping software. I love concept mapping. I think it's a great way to organize the classroom. I think it's a great way for students to organize. But there are lots of different applications out there that can do concept mappings. Quite a few are web-based. Some of them are paid. Some of them are, you can install it. But they all work a little bit differently. Some are node-based, where you actually can physically put up the item. And some of them have a central idea where you have to work off a central idea. And you teachers really need time to be able to play with these different things to see how all these different ones work. They can't go straight from learning about it in a conference and start integrating it in the classroom when there might be some alternatives that would work out better for you. The next thing is time to implement. And I say jump in and go. This is where you're actually going to be building lessons, testing it out with students. And if I say testing it out with students, you really want to be able to try things. Don't be afraid to try something and then come back and say, this didn't work, we'll try it differently. So time to implement. And these two time things are really, I'm working a lot with my administration to build that time in, and I'm working a lot with providing resources to my teachers so I don't have to spend my valuable workshop and in-service time physically showing them new things. So ways to provide time. I try and work a lot within contracted time. I've been burned several times by trying to offer the optional after-school workshops. I find that we get a few dedicated teachers, but if I need to show teachers something and they all need to know about it, it has to be within contracted time, or it has to be delivered in a way that they can watch it on their own time. So there is, I think it's this one. I'm going to open this up, and I thought this was a great example. There's a principal at this Cochrane University, and am I seeing that? I lost my feed. Okay. And what he actually did is he took his faculty meetings and turned them into a video that he shares with the students. He shares with the other staff. I don't want to go too far into it, but it's a video faculty meeting where he's trying to just get that information out to teachers via video. So I thought that was a very good way to use teachers' time so that when they do have the physical meeting time, it's not, hey, we have this coming up and we have this coming up. It's, let's actually get to work and physically do something. Close that. Try and create an atmosphere. Oops. Ways to provide. I want to try and create an atmosphere within the entire school of learning, of being able to get moving things forward. There's a book that I read in the past. It's called The Tipping Point. And it basically talks about that you keep working at things, and then there's some point where it just kind of takes off and does it on their own. And that's the tipping point. So if you can get with the tipping point, find that tipping point time, it really takes off. Another thing I suggest is in-services without agendas. There's too often that in-services really turn into another faculty meeting. And if you really want to bring that time to play and time to integrate, expect teachers or expect yourself to be there the entire time at the in-service, but don't give them an agenda. I also been playing around with something, and this hasn't come to play yet, but collaborative prep time, where I really want to get the teachers together working together, can be multiple subjects. So for those times where I want them to be working in a workshop, I may ask everybody to come down to the library and just work in the library. So if one teacher's doing a blog, the other one may be doing something, a Prezi, but they can kind of see what they're doing and then maybe collaborate in a way that they didn't expect to. And because it's not a meeting time and because there's no agenda behind it, they can actually play and work with this. On your own time training, I guess that's kind of like the flipped idea, stipend. And I was actually going to ask, does anybody else have some ideas? So we have some great people up here in the Hangout. Don't forget to unmute yourself.
Yeah, one of the things that I've been a technologist a long time, and I use my cool things. I try to teach them cool things. I work for community college. We have the same problems with time and getting faculty to work. So I try to address their problems, the specific problems of the instructor, and teach them those tools that they think are cool, that help their problems. So we spend more time doing one-on-one and smaller group, but we slowly chip away at learning new technologies and that.
Yeah, I try and get the videos out. Say, okay, we are going to meet. Still keep that meeting time, but see if you can't send them a 5-minute video beforehand. Say, okay, before we meet, here, watch these 3 videos on these 3 different programs, and then when we get together, let's play it out. So I think that would help out a lot, and like I said, I'm trying that. Any other suggestions from the group here?
One thing that I've recently heard about from Kim Cofino at the blog Always Learning that I'm really eager to try out is something like speed dating for teachers, where she set up a in-service time and asked teachers both what neat thing they wanted and what neat thing they knew how to do. And hers, in this particular case, was focused around using Google Docs in the classroom. And then she had each teacher sit down at a table, and they had a 10-minute window when they were going to be sitting there, and the other teachers could come for that one specific task, like how do I set my Google site up to collect a poll from the people who are visiting the site, or how do I do a shared collection or folder in Google Drive or Google Docs. And the room was buzzing, apparently, very active, very interested, and nobody was on the hot seat for more than 10 minutes, but everybody got to feel like they both got something really valuable out of the short seminar time and were able to provide something. Everybody got to be the expert in this case, because they all knew something that they could share with everybody else that they had done in their classroom or on their class website. So
I've actually seen, sorry to interrupt, I've actually seen a similar thing set up, but the teacher actually had the students be the experts.
And there's another great variation.
Where he actually trained all the students. He had a computer class of some sort, and each of them learned a specific thing. And then they had all the teachers come in, and the students worked one-on-one with the teachers. So if you were interested in Google Sites, you saw this student. If you were interested in learning about the learning management system, you saw this other student. And the students were the experts working with the teachers. I thought it was a really great model.
We're doing something, sorry, Devlin.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, we're doing something similar. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, we're doing something similar at Rollins, where we actually had faculty submit a proposal for what they wanted to do in their classes, and then we're putting together workshops where we'll do a session with a group of faculty one-on-one, or in a group, and then work with them one-on-one to develop their ideas. So we're doing that shared setting as well as bringing the experts into this setting, this professional development setting. So we do that next week.
Nice.
I'd just say one thing, too, about the model that Matthew discussed is I think it also is empowering to the teachers to do the 10-minute presentation as opposed to just be on the receiving end. I find that's a very intimidating to a lot of teachers, but it's a great first step toward being more empowered to share with other people.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to jump in and so we've got some nice comments going on the stream, and there was a question posed just about how to encourage faculty members to do professional development training outside of the workday or outside of the classroom, and just want to throw that question out to the group and see if anyone has suggestions.
I wish I had some better suggestions. I keep trying to offer it, but if it's not within contracted time, we can't force it. So I just put it out there. But if anybody else in this group has some suggestions, I'm open.
Yeah, we at UW Stout, we actually do a professional development week. So the instructors are under contract to be on campus, and then we have all kinds of different professional development items, different software they can learn, special sessions about the LMS that we use, and we also have open labs as part of that development week, so that maybe somebody's attended one of the sessions about the LMS that we use, and they need a little bit of help, like, I don't know how to set up my gradebook, or I sat in on something but I don't understand it completely. Then we have some of the tech people present so that they can come in and get help individually as part of the professional development week.
Yeah, I like that idea. I actually want to come back to that. I do have an answer to that question, Devin, and that is creating an atmosphere within your school that encourages professional development. And I've seen this. I've worked at several different schools, and there's one school that really has that atmosphere. There's the principal provides money for them to go to trainings. There's a lot out there, and there's a lot of encouragement from the administration to better themselves. And what I've found is in that situation where the school's atmosphere is encouraged by the administration to do more training, that the teachers took it upon themselves to actually learn these things on their own time. So I would have to see.
We got a grant at our community college to do faculty learning communities where we had mentors and mentees, and they actually got together to learn technology for online and getting students in the classroom. And one of the carrots was they didn't get paid for it. A lot of it's not during school time. That is they got $400 a piece to use in their classroom, to buy better monitors for their computer, things like that. And they've done amazing things with that community. So they're working together on things. The other thing we do too is when there's interest is, once again, if somebody goes, oh, I was at I was online in a Hangout and my web camera isn't very good. We throw them a better web camera or get them a nice set of headphones or that, and try to, wherever you see opportunity to get people going, to lower the barrier so they don't have to wait a month and a half for IT to get them a new set of headphones or something. We smooth that barrier out.
I'd say in the K-12 world, that's what we've done too, is tried to tie the device to the training. So we'll provide an iPad. When they come for the training, we'll assign some tasks, or the teachers will decide which tasks they'll be doing with the iPad. If they complete those tasks, they keep it for their use in the classroom. And that's, I think, a much more effective way to distribute technology than to just give it to everybody at one time, and some may not even want it to start with. So we've tried to use it as a feed to encourage people who are willing to invest some time to actually use it well.
Yeah, and
go ahead. I would piggyback on what Greg and Lynn just said. We found the same thing that Greg's school did, that if you create an environment where the teachers are encouraged to learn, both by providing funding for them and time for them to learn during business hours, but also talking with them and setting up plans and asking them, what do you want to learn? How can we help you find that? How can we get you, maybe we find several people want to learn the same thing. We bring somebody in rather than sending them all out. That sort of thing creates an environment where they know that it's valued, and that encourages people to go beyond and really get involved in their own professional development. And then I would also agree with Lynn. We found that when you give the tech as part of and as a follow-up to the training, it works really well. One piece that we've done to encourage out of contracted time training is setting up videos of little small bits of training. So kind of like with the speed dating piece I talked about earlier, if there's one particular task that you can put in a video and then you have a big library, it's kind of like the Khan Academy. Everybody has time on their own to go find the one thing they want to learn. And a lot of times we find that they find another thing that's also interesting, or something else that they needed to know was up there and they just didn't know it was there yet until they go. And those become lots of valuable time that they spend on their own catching up and learning about these things outside of their contracted hours.
I would add one more thing to the concept of environment. We have a small 6-station lab in a small room for faculty and that to come use, and we're actually asking for a couple fluffy chairs and a coffee maker because they want to escape and hide somewhere while they're learning where students aren't knocking on their door all the time and they can get away, and we've had comments about that. So we want to facilitate that so they come and hang out with their laptop. They can have a cup of coffee, which seems to be the gold standard of comfort, and they can get help. And we're right here in our offices right next door. We can look right out and help them, and so they can practice. All the software's there, all the technology sitting there. So that's our new experiment, hopefully going into this next year, is making the room more environmentally comfortable.
Yeah, I would go back to, it's the atmosphere. If the administration and the school can create an atmosphere that encourages professional development and teachers moving forward, and even teachers moving forward and making a possible mistake in what they're doing. I don't mean mistake, but trying something, and if it didn't work out, that's still encouragement. I mean, I want to encourage you guys to try it. If it didn't work out, try it again some other way. I mean, modify. That goes back to the, you always want to reflect and do this otherwise. I'm going to quickly get back to the presentation. One of the ways that I've kind of approached this, and I'm going to plug my own stuff because I do a lot of work into it, is that I've created a podcast called Google Weekly. And just because Google updates their stuff every single week, and that can be a testament to the fact that Google Drive got released last week and changed all of our presentation materials in some way or another. And so keeping up with all these changes, I needed a way to get this to my teachers on a weekly basis. I've tried the videos. I did it like a Friday at 5 videos, and it actually works. I mean, having little videos work, but I'll have to tell you, videos, if you're going to do any screencast or anything that they have to physically watch, keep it less than 5 minutes. You want it less than 5 minutes. Anything more than that, it will get lost. They won't look at it. They won't look at the visual. If you want more than 5 minutes, I'm going to recommend podcasting. And this is where it's just an audio-only format, and that's kind of where why I started Google Weekly, is to keep my own teachers up to date. And it has actually grown. And I then grew it to the point where I actually created a network, and I'm starting a second one called Teaching Change, which is going to be non-Google trainings and different things. Actually, I was working with Matt, who's here. We're going to probably do another one. We're trying to do one on universal design for learning in there. So looking not only at the videos, looking at ways that you can get this stuff out to the teachers, I think is a very important task. Moving on to look again, using the right tool for the right situation, I think is a very important thing. And share. I can't express enough. I think I got a question on email earlier today where someone was getting a little discouraged that they created all these videos for their own teachers and they probably weren't getting as much viewage as he was expecting. And what I actually found is if you externalize it and kind of share it more to the public, it brings in a little bit more interest within your school. So like my Google Weekly podcast, if I had just done this within my school, it probably would be going nowhere. The fact that I have produced this externally, I'm getting in a lot of feedback, And it's funny how once you hit a certain point, your own teachers start hearing about what's happening within their own school from external people. So I have people from other area schools who are listening to the podcast who talk to my own teachers where they're like, who do know I do this, but may not actually remember it on a regular basis, even though I send out the email all the time. So it creates a buzz in the area. And I think sharing what you've learned is very important. And I like the idea of the teacher, the speed dating teacher, the speed training teacher idea, because it forces them to share. And I think being able to share is another great way of learning. I do more presentations than I do watching presentations. I learn more by this way. I learn more in this session than I ever would have probably just listening to myself talk. So thank you very much for people in the group, and thank you very much for people in the stream. I think I was talking about here with resource websites are very, very easy to create and work very well. I've created one with, again, I externalized it, and it's my own website. That's where the askbj.net comes in. And I think it's a Google site, so it works out quite easily. But I have other resources right in here. And you'll notice that I just have a long listing of different applications they can use. I have something on ebooks and textbooks. And my teachers know this exists. And I try and share this out. I use this a lot within the presentations that I am using out there. So clip art, CAD software, concept mapping software, office suites, a lot of stuff out there, and creating this resource is a very great way to do it. If you're looking for that feedback on it, externalize it, and once it becomes externalized, usually it adds some credibility to even internalizing it. It's not as easy to just brush over. Screencasting. Let's see, I have actually a section on here on screencasting. Screencasting is being able to make your own videos, and it's a way to narrate and show what's going on. I use screencasting in two ways. I use it to create little quick videos on how to do something. I also have students use it for oral presentations. So my final grade, so the one class that I will teach with the students, their final presentation, instead of them standing up in the front of the class or just handing me in something, I make them create whatever, show their understanding in whatever format they want, maybe a video, maybe a stream, however they want to do it. And then I tell them, I want you to create a screencast of it. And on this website, it actually has some different screen readers in there. There's Screen-O-Matic and I think Screen are the two top ones that I use. And those are web-based screen recorders, so any computer, anytime, with the exception of Chromebooks as of yet. They're still working. I'm hoping that there's going to be a screen recorder for the Chromebooks. We're still looking for that. There's been a couple close things, but not one that actually really works on the Chromebook yet. But you can use these to create those quick videos. You can have students create those quick videos. And I actually, even for the Google Drive, I had an 8th grade student create these videos too. So if I go to my website and before this Hangout, I had a student shadow me the other day, and he came over just after the Google Drive was announced. And so I needed a way to get my teachers informed on how to enable Google Drive and what are the changes they would quickly see. Normally I would be creating this, but in this case I actually had him do it. This is out on YouTube. I do have permission from his parents to put this out on YouTube. And this was this week. Okay, that student basically did that in one take. We were just kind of working with this and playing with it. And this was the video I sent out to all my teachers to inform them what Google Drive is and that change. So it doesn't even need to be yourself, and it's very easy to do. It's very quick to do. And now if I tried to create an actual printout of this, it would take me 4 times as longer to create the screenshots and write it out. And then if I had to wait for an in-service to show teachers this, that's 4 times a year. So creating these videos is a very powerful way of building in these things. Podcasting and personal learning networks. Personal learning networks, that's a resource website, screencasting, podcasting. Personal learning networks is using your peers. So it's using Twitter, it's using other teachers in your area, it's using listservs, and all these people that you can connect with from around the world. Thank you, Web 2.0 and social networking and Google Plus for being able to connect us together. And often I will either share something out or I will ask a question of people in my social network, and I'll get some great answers from all around the world. We're doing it now, and I can't express enough to go through and actually connect with these people. Start a Google Plus account, start sharing, finding teachers. That's all I started doing. Is every single educator that I found at Google Plus, I just added them. So I have a random educator circle. I think I have almost 15, I have over 2,000 educators in that random education circle. And many of them have added me back. And so I've created this network within Google Plus that I can communicate with. I can get some information. Someone will do a presentation. I will just kind of take a quick look at it. A lot of people did this with Twitter. And you can do this. I also do it with the listserv, so I'm very well known on the listservs throughout Vermont. I even created one website that kind of lists all the different social networks we have in Vermont and shared it out there. So great way to connect and learn about new things is just to see what other people are doing. The other thing I want to kind of put out there is some different websites that I know of that offer some training that you can do on your own time. If you're a teacher watching this and you don't want to wait for your administration to really get things going, there's some great ways to do this. Obviously, my own website, I'm going to promote that, put a lot of work into it, and it's designed to help you guys out there. There's EdChat, and EdChat's something that happens on Twitter. I'm kind of hoping that it'll get brought over to Google Plus soon, because I love the Google Plus format a little bit more than the characters. But I think it's every Tuesday and Thursday. So every Tuesday. Okay, so it's every Tuesday. A topic gets thrown out there, and they use the Twitter hashtag EdChat. And it's anybody who can connect will go on to Twitter, and they will start talking about that one subject using that single hashtag. So it's a great way to get connected with a lot of people very quickly. And I've done it. I've been able to do it once. I haven't done it too many times, but it's a lot of fun. Curriki is a great website for resources. And where'd it go? I got too many windows open here. There you go. Curriki is a great website where teachers can post out their stuff. Somewhere in here, there is a professional development section on this. So this is another great way to get online professional development. So you can find an online PD workshop. We have PBS Teacher Line. Which is, I remember watching PBS as a kid, and my daughters are still watching it now, and they have a whole teacher section on professional development for pre-K to 12 educators. Great catalog in here, different strategies, science, STEM, math. You can break it into grade level. They got full courses online, so that's another great resource that you can look at for online professional development. And the last one I'm going to promote is UPD. And I know one of the people listening in earlier on, he wasn't able to get in on the Hangout because he contacted me a little bit late, is, where is he? I'm going to go to me, about. I'm going to plug your name. Our team. So Andrew Stillman was the person that I was going to try and have come up on here and talk a little bit about this. But what it is it little short videos of how to do different things. And here's a whole Google Apps section, new vision for teachers, new vision digital teacher course. Okay, that's a tongue twister. And so he also has a way that you can actually post your own. And what it is, a hack, they call it a hack, but it's very similar to basically a screencast. So that's another great resource. And he actually asked me to talk about, just to kind of plug something else he has, the Robot Secretary Challenge that he has. And there's a way to join the challenge. He told me about this shortly before I was going to jump onto my first Hangout and present, so I have not been able to look through this. But it looks like a nice little challenge for providing professional development in a way to share. And okay, at this point, I'm going to break off. Any questions? Anything from the stream?
We covered a lot of them with getting the faculty involved. Just looking. I know Andrew Stillman, he was in the comment stream, but he was having trouble with somehow the stream wasn't working for him, so hopefully we can get him back in there.
Who remembers Zoom? Greg, what's Zoom?
Zoom was the cool show on PBS, kind of like Sesame Street for older kids. Watched it for years after school. You're too young.
It was on right after Sesame Street and the Electric Company.
Oh yeah, and Electric Company too. They had striped shirts.
There was a comment in the stream that I really appreciated, which was about learning from the kids, using in-class time to have the kids show, and this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, of empowerment of all of the participants, having the kids show us as teachers how to do these things that they want to do and getting it to work. I think that's a great suggestion.
And what a way for the kids to learn. I made the comment that I learned to write closed captioning scripts manually before some of the auto tools from a 7th grader. He had 20 videos on various technical things. It was a little bizarre listening to the little tinny voice and the little comments and that, but imagine how much that child learned, that kid learned, and where he is today from doing all that.
There's one teacher in Vermont who's doing a lot with student help desk and student training, and it's just been one really big positive program. And getting the students involved, I think, is one of the best ways to do it. Not only does it help the student, it helps the teacher, but it also breaks that digital divide some, where I think there's a lot of teachers who are intimidated by the fact that the students may know more about it. But that's not so much an issue anymore. It's about being able to adapt. And the way, if you teach and say, okay, I want you to show me your understanding of this, maybe a student will take a video, maybe a student will actually write a program if that's what their talent is. And then they can show the teacher that they understand the concept, but the teacher doesn't necessarily also have to know everything and every bit of technology out there. They can trust the student to be able to know the technology, and then also the student can turn around and show the teacher.
And the students can also show the other kids. We had a class of 1st graders that wanted to get on Khan Academy, and our 5th grade has been using it extensively the past couple semesters. So we had the 5th graders come down to the 1st grade and show all the 1st graders how to get on, which was hugely successful, also in part because we had one-to-one for every kid in the 1st grade. There was a 5th grader helping them. And the 3 adults that were involved could walk around the classroom and help out the few cases where the kid wanted to do something and wasn't able to show the 1st grader, or the 1st grader was asking and the 5th grader didn't understand what the question was aimed at. We facilitated some of those interactions, but mostly it was 5th graders showing 1st graders how to use Khan Academy. It was 60 minutes of the best learning that they had all week, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just like that quick little video of the student. I think it was amazing to not only see him do it, but what really I think brought that up, the attention out on that one, was when his advisor came in. And I know his advisor is from a neighboring school who also has Google Docs. And I'm guessing they haven't been told the little video about Google Drive. And so she came in and watched the video, and immediately you looked on her face was, wow, this is great stuff. I mean, it was almost like, this helps me out. So she was really, I think, really impressed with that one. And I think that's what caught the students like, oh, okay, well, this was seeing the student's reaction, seeing the teacher reaction. As a student, seeing the teacher reaction, I think really helped them out a lot. And I did post out the videos in the comment stream that I had to the 2 videos that they had. I noticed I jumped on and okay, moving on. Anything else out there from the group? Okay. Well, I'm pretty much done with the PD now, and I want to thank everybody for joining me on the Hangout. I want to thank everybody who commented and watched the stream. And we have about 15 minutes before the next sessions start, so this, I think, it was a good time to wrap up. And thank you. Devin, is there any last things?
Just some, last-minute things. If you want to get in touch with Bjorn, if you do have, further questions, he did mention his website, edlisten.com, so, he's available there. Furthermore, if you have questions about Google Apps for Education, I'm more than happy to help, so you can see, contact me via Google+, and, thank you to everyone who joined in, and, yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed it.
Okay, thank you very much.